All right, here we go. Hello everyone, I'm Alan Thrall here at Untamed Strength Gym in Sacramento, California. And I'm oozing with excitement to finally talk about my lifting and running program. I posted it yesterday, and if you've already purchased the program, or if you clicked on this video and you said, boom, I'm out of here, I'm going to get the program now, thank you very much. But please watch this video because I explain kind of how to read the program, some of the why to the structure of the program, and I answer some questions, talk about some adjustments that can be made and some variations. So if you do have questions, hopefully will answer them in this video. If I don't, email me, untamedstrengthapparel@gmail.com. That's where you can buy the program, Untamed Strength Apparel. So untamedstrengthapparel@gmail.com. Email me if you have any questions, and hopefully I can help you out. So this program, this running and lifting program, nope, that was backwards. This lifting and running program is exactly that. It is a lifting program with some running. It is not a running program with a little bit of lifting sprinkled in, primarily a lifting program. The audience is you guys who are already lifting weights and you want to start doing some running. Or maybe you do lift weights and run, but you want to get a little bit better structure, actually follow a program, as well as get some ideas for running workouts and lifting workouts. I have structured this program in a way that I prefer. And when I prescribe this to other people, this is how I structure the program. And so I've made it available to all of you. Now, when I say structure of the program, I'm talking about the frequency of lifting and running, the frequency of the exercises, the variations that I like using, as well as the total number of working sets per movement or per muscle group in a week and in a workout, and the total number of reps in the workout as well as in the week. So it's not just slapping on 3 sets of 10, but actual working reps. There's a certain number that I want to hit each week that works well for most people. So that's the structure of the program. That's why I created this program. Now, when you open the program, you're going to see there are 3 weight training program options. There is a 5-day per week weight training program, a 4-day per week weight training program, and a 3-day per week strength training program. There are also 3 running workouts. These 3 running workouts will go with whichever strength program you choose. So if you decide to do the 5 days of lifting and 3 days of running, that's going to be 8 workouts per week. If you do the 4 days of lifting and the 3 days of running, that's going to be 7 workouts per week. If you do the 3 days of lifting and the 3 days of running per week, that's going to be 6 workouts per week. For 5 days a week, you're doing upper, lower, upper, lower, upper. When you move to 4 days a week, it is upper, lower, upper, lower. So you went from 3 uppers, 2 lowers to 2 uppers, 2 lowers. So it's essentially it is 1 less upper body day. When you move to 3 days a week, you're doing full body each session. These workouts, the 3 times a week, might be a little bit longer in duration than the other ones. These workouts do not necessarily need to be done in a 7-day split. So you don't have to go Monday to Sunday to cram in 5 lifting days and 3 running days, although you could if you want to. You can spread it out to a 8, 9, or 10-day cycle if you'd like. So what I mean is this. Don't take this verbatim, but just as an example. If you wanted to do 1 day upper, and then a run, and then a lower, and then you rested, and then you did upper, and then a run, and then lower, and then rested, and then upper, and then a run. That would be a 10-day rotation. So you can take rest days as you need, extend it out. It doesn't have to be done. You don't have to have Monday be in the same day of the program every week. So you can adjust that however you like, whatever fits into your schedule. Now, these workouts, while this does look like a ton, 5 lifting days and 3 running days, that is quite a bit. But if you love lifting, you know that, hey, I want to get as much exercise in as I can. These workouts are brief enough that honestly, I think they would take you 40 to 60 minutes, maybe 75 minutes, maybe an hour and a half, just depending on how much time you like to spend in the gym or how much time you like to rest in between sets, and depending on how strong you are. If you are working up to 500 pounds, it's going to take a lot longer to get there than if you were lifting 225. These workouts can take me 40 minutes if I move quick, but it could take up to an hour. The runs are all going to be the same time duration, no matter what your ability, because they are all prescribed in time. So it is not distance based. I'm not saying go run 4 miles. because that might take someone 30 minutes, that might take someone an hour. The workouts are prescribed as do a certain amount of work for this period of time and then rest for this period of time and so on. So for example, the three running workouts that change each month, there is an interval workout, which means you run for a period of time and then walk, run, walk. So in that workout, you and someone else are doing the same amount of work, but your pace and the distance you cover during the time you run might be more the more fit you are, and less the less fit you are. Then there's a steady run, which is just long, slow, steady. Not long, but it's just a slow and steady pace. There's a substitute. You could do a Stairmaster here if you'd like, if running 3 days a week is a little too much right now. So the Stairmaster could work because I think it's pretty similar to a run. You're doing the same motion. So if we talk about specificity, it's pretty close. If you were to do, you could do a rower, you could do an assault bike, you can do an elliptical, but at that point has nothing to do with running. That's just a lifting and conditioning program, which is not what this is. And then there's an incline treadmill workout. Now, I forgot to include this in the program, but not all of you are going to have access to an incline treadmill. If you train in your garage, you don't have a treadmill, you don't have a membership to a commercial gym, you can just do this as an interval workout. As the incline increases, your pace should increase. As the incline decreases, your pace can decrease. So it's just a non-stop slow, medium, fast, slow, medium, fast. You can just follow it that way. Or if you have some hills in your area, you could kind of compute this to a hill workout. The reason I included an incline workout, and I'll talk about this in some future videos, it is an excellent way at making the run difficult without going very fast. So you're kind of taking away some of the stress on your body by running fast or running on pavement, and you're climbing the whole time. So I think that your body, I feel like you can recover a little bit better afterwards while still getting your heart rate up and getting a great workout. So I really, really love incline workouts. If you can do it, please do it. Let's talk a little bit about scheduling. So a big question I get is, should you run before your workout? Should you run after your workout? Should you run on rest days? Should you run on lifting days or non-lifting days? Should you run on upper body days or lower body days? The honest answer is your personal preference and your scheduling, your time available, your energy and your recovery, that is the most important factor when you're considering how to structure this or how to schedule this. More important than anything else. This is how I follow a program like this, but it can change if it needs to. So for example, sometimes if you have more time in the day to work out today in particular, and you want to do a lifting session and a running session, do it. If you have less time during the day, just do one of the workouts and then do a running workout on another day. Personally, I like to plug my runs in when I have obviously the time available, but sometimes it's based on location. If I have to take my kids to a spot by the river and I drop them off for a period of time, I might go run because I like running down by the river. There are days when I'm just feeling really, really sore, and so I'm like, I'm gonna wait until I'll go run tomorrow. Or I might have a slow run programmed and I'll go for a slow run and I just feel good. I just feel springy and awake and energized. I'm gonna turn this into a hard workout and I'm gonna go for it. And there are other days where I'm feeling kind of run down and I'll just coast through it. It'll just be a slow, steady pace. I don't wanna run any faster than I currently am. Now, what I would suggest, if I had to give an answer, I would do the run after the lower body session. That would be, I guess, best. So you might do an upper on Monday and then a lower on Tuesday with a run also on Tuesday. When you do the lower body first and then you go run, you kind of get an extended cardio benefit because you're pre-fatigued and you're warmed up going into your run. If you go run for 20 minutes, the first 10 minutes if you're cold and you go run for 20 minutes, it's just gonna take 10 minutes to actually warm up and get into a stride. If you're already warmed up from the workout and you're already a little bit fatigued from the lower body workout, you can just push right away for 20 minutes. So I think you get a little more benefit doing runs right after your lower body. But again, if you don't have time for that, that's totally fine. Just get this work in within whatever 7 to 10 day cycle you prefer. Let me give you a sample week. This is a 4-day per week. This is just a sample week here. It is a 12-week program. Day one is your upper body day. If we did a 4-day per week, that's the most common, I think. So let's go with a 4-day per week example. Day one, you're doing bench, you're doing rows, you're doing dips or push-ups or a close grip bench, and then you're doing triceps. On day two, you are jumping. So I did prescribe jumps in this program. I think that jumping, not only is it a great warm-up for your lower body workout, but I think that the explosive nature in the jumps is really helpful at countering or supplementing the slow, steady nature of running. I think it's good for your feet, your ankles, your knees, your Achilles. So jumping, I think, is great, especially for runners. The explosive here, and then the longer, slower, steady stuff here. After the jumps, you've got squats. For things like squat, bench press, deadlift, you can do any variation you like. You can do a barbell squat. You can do a pause squat, a box squat, a pin squat. You can do a camber bar squat. You can do SSB. You can do a belt squat. You could do a hack squat, honestly, if you want to. For deadlift, this could be something as I could have written something as simple as a heavy hinge. If you want to do an RDL, if you want to do a good morning, I like doing good mornings with an SSB. Just a heavy hinging movement. I just wanted to put something here so that I wasn't too vague and ambiguous with the variations to where I just listed 10 things. So after a squat, you've got hamstrings. Now I love doing Nordic leg curls, and I have been for the past several months. So I had to include them. I understand that not everyone has an awesome Nordic hamstring curl leg machine like I do. So if you can set something up in your garage, by all means do it, where you just anchor your heels down, your ankles down with a heavy barbell. And the reason I like the hamstring or the Nordic hamstring curl, I want to include some sort of knee flexion. Most of the hamstring work in programs is very hip extension dominant, so it's just hip hinge dominant. I want to train the hamstring at the distal part, so you're actually doing some leg curls, some knee flexion. And so if you can't set up a Nordic hamstring curl, or you do set up a Nordic hamstring curl and you're just either too weak or just too heavy and you can't get anything out of it, you just tilt a few degrees and you fall to the ground, you're not able to resist much, don't do a Nordic hamstring curl. Try to figure out something else. So maybe like a seated leg curl if you have a machine, a lying leg curl if you can rig something up with bands and the band tension is sufficient, do that. If you don't want to do any of that, or if you can't do any of that, you can definitely do a unilateral hinge movement. So like a single leg deadlift, something like that, dumbbell, barbell, whatever you'd like. So you got the squat and then the hamstring hinging movement or knee flexion. And then adductors. Adductors I think really need to be trained. And it's something, unless you're doing low bar squats and you bend over quite a bit when you squat, you're not training your adductors too much. So some direct adductor work I think is great. For day 3, press, pull. This is like a vertical pull, a pull up, or a pull down. Some rear delt stuff and some curls. Day 4, you're doing more jumps, just a different variation. And then deadlifts. I've already talked about variations for the deadlift. And then a lunging pattern. After the lunge, so this is a unilateral squat. And then after that, you're doing abs. Now let me talk for a minute about scheduling here. Like I mentioned with the lifting and running, you can adjust the combination however you like, whatever works with your schedule. You can adjust stuff here also. So for example, if you had a big, let's say Sunday, you just have a few hours to train. You got the whole afternoon to train. You might do, and that was your lower body day, you could do the big movements on that day because you have more time. You could do the squats and the deadlifts on that day. This is what I do sometimes. And then during the week, when I'm a little more pressed for time and I got to get my session in between clients or between taking my kids to gymnastics and baseball, whatever, I might pair together the unilateral stuff because I can do it quicker. So I might pair the unilateral deadlift, so it might be a single leg deadlift or a landmine deadlift or a lever deadlift, or maybe a Nordic hamstring curl with the single leg squat. So the lunge. So I actually did this morning. I was pressed for time. Client was going to be here soon. So I did my reverse lunges with an SSB. And then for my hamstrings, I did a single leg back extension, which is really, really good on the glutes and the hamstring. It is not a knee flexion, I understand that, but it's great for hip extension. So I did my lunge and my hamstrings along with some other stuff in that session. So if you wanted to group it together like that, you can. I feel like I'm rambling quite a bit. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there because I do have a couple more videos that I have in mind where I'm gonna talk more about lifting and running and some things to consider. I think one thing that I forgot to mention is if you are starting off with 0 weekly miles, you've never ran before in the recent past, you can do this program. You can just scale these workouts to something that's attainable or approachable. So start off conservative, and then you can ramp up intensity and speed as you go about it. If these workouts are too much for you right away, I would suggest starting off with something like 2 to 3 runs per week with a total of 40 to 60 minutes for the week. At no particular pace, just shuffling is fine. Maybe start there, do that for a month or two, and then start incorporating these workouts if they're too much right off the bat. That's it, everyone. Thank you very much, and thank you to those of you who've already purchased the program. You didn't even wait for me to explain it. You were like, boom, I trust him, I'm going for it. Always remember, Chenan time!